Two naked alien neighbors appeared at my door asking for the impossible. It was a quiet night on Elm Street. The kind of night where even the wind seemed to hold its breath. John was sitting alone in his small apartment, scrolling lazily through his phone. He had just finished dinner, and the only sound was the faint hum of his refrigerator. Everything seemed normal. Too normal. Suddenly, there was a loud knock on his door. Not the usual polite knock of a neighbor borrowing sugar, but a firm, urgent bang that made him jump. John frowned. Who could be visiting at this hour? He wasn't expecting anyone. Cautiously, he walked to the door and peered through the peephole. His eyes widened in disbelief. Two figures stood on his porch. Their skin shimmered under the dim light, glowing faintly like moonlight on water. They had large eyes, long limbs, and strangest of all, they wore nothing at all. Naked. But it wasn't the nudity that startled John, it was that they were clearly aliens. John took a step back, almost tripping over his own shoes. Hello, he stammered, unsure if he should call the police or just run. The taller alien tilted its head and made a sound that was surprisingly understandable. John, it said, its voice soft but oddly human, we need your help. John blinked. My help? With what? The smaller alien stepped forward, its eyes glowing brighter. Something impossible has happened. We cannot fix it ourselves. Only you can. John shook his head. I think you've got the wrong apartment. I'm just a guy who fixes computers. The taller alien's gaze was steady. It is exactly why we need you. No one else can do this. Time is running out. John swallowed hard. His mind raced. This had to be a dream. Or maybe he had eaten some bad leftovers. But the intensity in their eyes told him otherwise. Something strange was happening, and he couldn't ignore it. Okay, he said slowly. Come in. But, can you cover yourselves or something? The aliens hesitated, then simultaneously made a gesture that made the air around them shimmer. In an instant, their bodies were cloaked in a thin, glowing veil that made them appear human-like. John blinked again, feeling a little relieved, though still terrified. Once inside, the aliens looked around his apartment as if measuring everything. The taller one spoke again. We come from a world beyond your stars. Our planet is dying. A strange phenomenon threatens to erase all life there. We came here to find a solution only a human can provide. John laughed nervously. Me? A human? How can I? I don't even know how to save my own computer when it crashes. How am I supposed to save an alien world? The smaller alien's eyes shimmered with an emotion John didn't recognize, urgency mixed with desperation. It is not about skill alone. It is about imagination, courage, and heart. Only you have the combination we need. John sank into his chair, trying to make sense of what was happening. He wanted to say no. He wanted to scream. But something about the situation, something about their eyes, made him realize that maybe he was about to do something extraordinary. Okay, he said finally. Tell me what I need to do. The taller alien leaned closer, lowering its voice. There is a device on your planet. You humans call it a quantum processor. With it, we can create a bridge between your world and ours. But the device must be activated by a sequence that does not exist. You will have to invent it. John's head spun. Invent a sequence? Are you serious? That's impossible. The smaller alien nodded. Yes. That is why we came to you. Impossible is exactly why it must be you. John sat back and ran his hands through his hair. This was insane. Two naked aliens at his door asking him to solve the fate of their planet using a device he barely understood. And yet, the look in their eyes was so sincere, he couldn't say no. All right, he said slowly. But if we're doing this, we need a plan. The aliens looked at each other, then back at John. We know of a location where the processor can be accessed safely. You must come with us. There is no time to waste. John hesitated. His apartment, his life, his comfort, everything was at risk. And yet, curiosity, the kind he hadn't felt since childhood, pulled him forward. He grabbed his jacket. "Let's do it. Show me the way." The taller alien extended a hand. "Hold tight. The journey is unlike anything you have known." Before John could respond, a shimmering light surrounded them. The next moment, the floor beneath him disappeared, and he felt as though he were falling and flying at the same time. Colors flashed past him, bright, impossible hues that his brain struggled to name. The world twisted and bent in ways that defied every law of physics. When he opened his eyes, he was standing on a strange platform in a landscape that made his jaw drop. The sky shimmered in greens and purples, and two suns cast long shadows across the ground. Mountains floated in the distance, and rivers glowed with a faint blue light. John's heart raced. This is real." The smaller alien nodded. "Everything we have shown you is real. The device is here. But it is guarded. You must activate it carefully. One wrong step, and everything is lost." John approached the quantum processor. It looked like a giant crystal, pulsating with energy. Lines of light danced across its surface, forming patterns that seemed alive. His mind swirled with fear and excitement. "How do I start?" he asked. The taller alien spoke gently. "Listen to the device. It speaks not in words but in resonance. Feel its rhythm. Let your heart guide your hands." John took a deep breath and placed his hands on the crystal. At first, nothing happened. Then, faint vibrations began under his palms. He closed his eyes, letting the energy flow through him, letting his instincts take over. Slowly, patterns of light began to shift and align, creating a sequence that made no logical sense, yet felt perfectly right. Suddenly, the device hummed loudly. Light shot into the sky, connecting their world with his in a bridge of pure energy. The aliens gasped in relief and awe. "You did it," the smaller alien whispered. "You saved us." John sank to the ground, exhausted but exhilarated. He had done the impossible. He had trusted his heart and mind in equal measure, and it had worked. The taller alien placed a hand on his shoulder. "We cannot repay you fully, John. But know this, you have changed the fate of our civilization forever. And perhaps, your world as well." Before John could respond, the light returned, and he found himself back in his apartment. The aliens were gone. The door was shut. Everything looked normal. Too normal. He sat there, staring at the empty room, his mind racing. Had it been real? Or had he imagined it all? Then, on his table, he saw a small glowing crystal, the same kind from the processor. And next to it, a note written in glowing letters: "Thank you, John. You are more than human. You are extraordinary." John smiled, shaking his head. One thing was certain, his life would never be the same again. The night was quiet again. But John knew that somewhere out there, across the stars, two aliens were looking at the sky and smiling, because of him. And he also knew, this was only the beginning.